Hello there, humans, hippies, earthlings, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and who you're lucky enough to be doing it too. Gee, I'm happy to be doing it. In case you were wondering, yesterday, that was a boats video that dropped on channel, and it's going to be dropping all the time now. Most of the channel is going to be devoted to Blitz still. It's all about the tank videos, but occasionally I'm going to throw a boats video on there. If Wargaming ever get round to bringing out a mobile boats title, I'll be doing that as well. And if I ever start playing any other games, I'll be dropping them here as well. It just becomes a little bit problematic over the long term to keep making a new bloody channel every time I start fiddling around with another game. And that's just double handling from my part. Makes it tougher to put content out and makes it much tougher to provide anything worthwhile watching. As always, this is a Patreon-sponsored post. If you want to sponsor me and help bring the community together, there's a lot of people in Patreon. I think we've got 200-odd people in the chat room now, and it would be great to see you here. Now, this is the Tier 7 Japanese autoloader, the T-Rex, the Chi-Ri. You've got a choice, actually, of two guns on this. You've got the 75mm Type 5 Model 1 and the 75mm autoloading gun Type 5. I thought I was using the autoloader here, and I was like, wow, the reload on this is pretty crap on an autoloader. Then I realized you're not using an autoloader, you're actually using the standard 75mm. Now, this is actually a tank I have done a long time ago when they first came out. I really liked the Chi-Ri. I had probably a dozen games in it, and they were all really solid, right around that 2K mark. It's at a tier where it runs into a lot of tanks that it can very easily pen. It's got some good things going for it with the new equipment loadouts if you wanted to make this one of your main squeezes. And it was surprisingly strong. Like, I thought it might have faded a little bit in the meta. There's a lot more heavy tanks I'm finding at the moment that are caning along. Big heavy tanks seem to have taken the bit between the teeth and are really making a strong comeback these days. You get the bonus to traverse, you get the bonus to the armor, and you get bonus to gun handling. So tanks that already had good armor can now really make hay. You can see here, I run it with calibrated shells, the Chi-Ri, and the extra 5% of penetration really does help. And you can see the DPM is lovely. It pumps out 160 round shots, the 75mm, which is standard rounds for a 75mm. Nothing special about that. But the actual difference that you're going to find with this tank is, being an autoloader, you get to pump them out in very, very quick succession. Your reload time between shells is minuscule. It's only 1 second, which means that at most, your time on target where you're visible if you pump the shot every time it's available is going to be about 2 seconds from initial firing. So that means if you're firing from stealth, bang, 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 out. Which is really, really nice if you're running an autoloader. And it's one of the reasons why I think this tank does exceptionally well. Now, you still got no armor. I'm going to give you a quick look here at your armor profile. Basically, everything that you see that is green is pennable, and everything that is red will bounce. So let's just load up the armor profile here. Yep, there you go. That's the areas that you can get penned on the Chi-Ri by just about anyone firing a slingshot. And that's the negative of the tank. It's got horrible armor. What's the positive? Well, it will pump out 2400 DPM every 60 seconds. At tier 7, that's impressive. And even though I was only in that game for 2.5 minutes, I actually did just over 2000 damage, which is very, very nice in a tier 7 match to be able to drop the hammer that hard and fast on targets. And it's also lovely. You can put 3 rounds in, which is nearly 500 average alpha per clip, and it takes you 2 seconds to fire it. So if you can find a position where you can peek a boom like that and run through a few clips, you can do exceptionally well. Now, the parts of the tank that really surprised me weren't the massive gun numbers, the ability to really pump the damage. It was the fact that running the extra 7% of traverse, running it with the calibrated shells, running it with the vertical stabilizer and the enhanced gun laying drive, all that kind of thing, gave you wonderful, wonderful gun handling and just a little bit more across the board. And it made the tank, it was a joy to drive. I really enjoyed it. Now, I wouldn't recommend this one for novices. You have to very much be in tune with the game. You have to be watching for your shots, and you have to put yourself in positions to be successful without overextending. If you do overextend and you try to rush in and finish someone off and you don't get it done, you then have to sit there and basically just take every shot that comes out of their gun for the next 9.17 seconds. And that's rough, because being a no armor tank means not a whole lot of them are going to bounce. And that also means that you have to be very, very careful, because you are going to get penned. And you can see there, no problems penning. And you can't chase the damage. If someone falls off a cliff there, you can't just go racing down to put the other 2 shots into them, because you just cannot afford to hit point trade in this tank unless you have a huge hit point advantage and you're in a position where all your shots are going to go in. Now, the dispersion on the gun is 0.330. That is running it. When I did these videos, I was actually running it with just your standard stuff and calibrated shells. I was not using the improved ventilations, which you can mount because you are an autoloader, and I would consider it. It's certainly a viable option. Like, there's no reason you shouldn't run that. The dispersion, I'm not running refined gun either, which is another 5% off the dispersion. If you wanted to, you could. But 0.330 is quite in line with where you want to be. You can see I'm taking my time because I only had 1 left in the clip there, and I couldn't afford to miss, or I would be having a Tiger 1 right next to me for the next 9 seconds without being able to fire. And there we go, and we're back out there and just pumping and pumping and pumping and pumping and enjoying it. 1 second between shells, so even though we missed the second shell, we hit him with the 3rd shell. Mobility wise, you're up to 44 degrees of traverse. No problems whatsoever, and that's without the 7% traverse buff. I'm actually reading these numbers off my other account where I'm looking at the tank at the moment. Your speed limit is 42, and it's not super mobile, but it's a lot better than I remember it being. And I don't know if I just wasn't good enough back then, but I'm pretty sure I was killing an awful lot of people, or blowing a lot of tanks up. It just seems to work a lot better in this current meta. And the lack of camo net binocular synergy in all those TDs that are running around at the moment means you can quite often fire and not get spotted. But you know how I was saying you take care? Like, I ducked down there and just looked for some people pushing along and trying to climb that hill early as some easy shots. A couple of giveaways, they weren't available. Now I'm pushing all the way back around, and I'm going to be looking for people who come along the flank, and I'm basically the whole left flank of my team at the moment. No one else is here guarding, so I'm going to push here, and if I'm going to be isolated, I cannot afford to deal with a really fast pushing light or medium. They are not good encounters for this tank. You may well actually be able to kill the tank that pushes up on you, but you always get hit because your whole nature is front-loaded damage and then a big empty space where they just get to pound on you. So even if you angle and dangle and wiggle and jiggle, you're still going to be up against it. And so I've pulled right back here. So there's a chance if someone does push up on the left-hand side of the map, I am still able to get support. And there's an you'll see there's an easy 8 there. He's spotting the middle. He called the spot in the middle at the start. That's why I pushed around to the left and was going to give him a hand. And the Chiri, mobility-wise, it's more than capable of doing things like this. It's a genuine medium tank in terms of mobility. It's not a good mobile medium tank, but it genuinely can put shots in. And you see the LTTB there. We get 1 in. We get a second one, and then we're going to wait and make sure we hit with this 3rd one. 100% want to get it. And there's 3. Turn him into a 60 hit point shot. Pull back, turn around, make sure we're on the reload and in safe cover. The Easy 8 pushes up. He's dropped adrenaline. He's into the VK3002M. I'm going to push down and help him. He's going to ask for help in a second, I'd suggest, and I will reply with the affirmative. There you go. Letting him know what's happening. That LTTB has moved all the way over there. There we go, 1, 2, 3, and he takes out. Kill nearly secured by us, but the Easy 8 deserved it. He pushed down there. Now we've got a VK3001P here. We're going to be on the reload. He's not looking at us, so we're going to see if we can't sneak 3 in. Look at the speed on the reload. And the mobility, even though it's not great, is good enough. You're going to see here where it gets really tough. I can isolate the turreted TD, and I've got enough hit points to actually, enough damage to churn through him, get past the non-turreted TD, and be able to isolate him where he can't put shots back into me directly. It's got more than enough ability for that, and it's got more than enough firepower for that as well. Anyway, boys and girls, I hope you liked that one. It's a bit of a primer too for how to play those soft, really soft tanks that struggle as autoloaders to put damage out without taking a heap of damage back. And if you wanted to apply that kind of play style to any of your T69s, or even your French AMX 50Bs, 5100s, all that kind of thing, I think you would go absolute flat chat. And maybe that's why I'm playing this tank a little bit more successfully now than I did previously, because I've gone through the full learning curve of autoloaders. You've got to remember, this was our first ever high tier autoloader in Blitz. The Chi-Ri came along out of the blue, and it was the only tier 7 autoloader in existence. Indeed, in the whole game, there was nothing else at high tiers that ran an autoloader. So maybe a little bit more time on the controls behind an auto-loading cannon like that has given me a greater appreciation of the brilliance of having just 1 second between the shells on your reload. It really does make it a viable tank, whereas before I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was amazing. I now think it's quite strong, especially in the current meta. I hope they don't bring binoculars back. I really, really don't want them to bring binoculars back. I enjoy the fact that the game seems to be loosening up a little bit, and there's a little bit more aggression involved, as people aren't permanently spotted by the radar at the back, who's sitting there with 350 view range and a 150mm gun and basically intimidating everyone because they know they're going to get hit if they make a move. I enjoy this play a lot more. So I'm Bushka on Blitz. Thanks very much for supporting the channel. Stick with it, guys. I know not everyone's happy at the moment, and we're all in the same boat, so let's just chill out, play some Blitz, watch some videos, and rock and roll. Until next time, look after your mum, be nice to your dog, and stay safe on the battlefield.